So hi, everyone. My name is Barry Heidowitz. I'm a director here at Extreme Labs. And presenting today, we have Maritz. He's one of the directors at Van Haren Learning and also one of the lead instructors. Victor will be presenting on GenAI. So with that, first, I'll hand it over to Maritz, and he'll present some helpful information on Van Haren content, which is also available from Extreme Labs. And what I'll do is I'll put my contact info in the chat and also a link to information about the Van Haren content that's available through Extreme Labs. So I'll hand it over to you, Maritz. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. And thank you for being our partner in the US. So Van Haren exists next year 25 years. I got big with publications, mainly in the domain of ITIL and translating it back in the day. Then several years ago, we also went into courseware. So this is basically training material, accredited training material for well-known courses in the past. So think of ITIL, project management, PMI, TOGAF, you name it. And so we're also a certification provider. So we build exam based on thought leaders, communities, and then we help our partners to exploit those trainings that lead to that certification through the training material, accreditation, and books. So in that sense, we're a learning solutions provider. We don't deliver the training ourselves. And luckily, we managed to partner with parties such as Extreme Labs who can represent us in the US. Because flying over once every time, well, we like to do it, but it might be a bit too much of a time investment. And luckily also with thought leaders such as Victor here in our call. Besides a trainer, his, I should say, firm, D-Data, they're also one of the lead authors in many of our AI products. We went into the AI domain about 5 years ago. Then we were ahead of the curve. When GenAI came, all of a sudden we were behind the curve, which is particular because we were quite ahead of the curve. Regardless, we still have many AI products and they're doing well, and we hope that they can also benefit you over there. Victor, can we go to the next slide? Yeah. So I'll keep it short. So what does the examination mean? So we have our examination in various facets. It's based on the ISO requirements. Basically, anything is in there what's supposed to be in examination. Yeah, we can also go to the next slide again, Victor. I'll keep it brief because the real interesting stuff that is coming from Victor. And so our certifications to help people, well, show what they're worth, show the knowledge that they mastered, and it's often a great way to make sure that you actually finish your course and really start learning. Yeah, then we can go to the next already. So the value of certification, I don't think I have to explain it to you all, but HR usually really appreciates it. Learners appreciate it, and it gives a real clear objective, and it really shows what you've learned during the course. So besides that certification content that we provide, for example, in the GenAI course that will be presented today, we also have it on AI fundamentals, AI basics. There's now also data and AI strategy module coming out. We have something on data literacy, data visualization. So really in that space of data and AI, and please contact Barry if you have any requests or any interest with potential clients. We're also quite flexible in partnering and help you to try out the material as such. And please again go through Barry. Yeah, next slide, Victor. Indeed, the training is the examination course where we work with global esteemed parties that do the certification through us. For example, the Banking Industry Architecture Network. All the big banks, also US-based banks, are a member, for example. JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Salesforce is a member, IBM is one of the launching partners. So they all trust us in doing the certification for them. Proctored exams, we have invigilated exams. It's all pretty much market standard and well tested. Yeah, thank you. Next slide, Victor. And so how it usually works, indeed, we help partners to create the learning solutions. So you as a trainer can educate your professionals. We help by examining them, and then hopefully we can really drive the expansion of a certification and best practice. And of course, the end goal is that organizations benefit from it and that they can work more efficient, faster, and learn from the expertise of data scientists such as Victor, instead of having to figure it out all themselves, reinventing the wheel. Our courses are made by thought leaders who have been doing it for several years and know what the future holds, or at least part of the future, so that organizations can benefit from it without having to figure it out all by themselves or ChatGPTing everything. Yeah, next question, if that's possible. And yeah, we're trusted by many organizations, also in the US. We deliver to the US Navy, many banks here, visible, various organization, consultancy firms, and such. So yeah, that was me. Now we'll go to the real exciting stuff of the training, and that's Victor. So please take it away.
All right. Thanks, Marit. And thanks for all the kind words in between. I'm going to ask the audience who recognizes this video. Who is a movie expert here? I see Barry nodding. Anyone else? Are they allowed to talk or they're not allowed to talk? They're not allowed to.
They're muted. Yeah,
they're
but
all
they
muted.
they can type in the chat.
All right, let's see in the chat then who is already answering. Always takes a while to chat. Barry, do you know it? Because I saw you nodding a bit.
Yeah, it's Hal.
Yeah,
from
Hal 9000. Do you have any idea when this movie came out?
Oh, good question. Was it the 70s or early 80s?
1968.
Oh, 68. Wow.
Yeah, it was quite, it was science fiction at the time, of course, but by now it's no longer fiction. People actually play chess at work instead of work, while AI does the work for them. But this is from quite some time ago. This is a little bit more my time when we get to the next one. Michael Knight, for those who are a little bit around my age, I spent way too many hours in my youth watching Knight Rider. And this is actually the scene where he first discovers that Kit can actually talk, and he's quite shocked about this. He's about to find out that the car can actually drive itself as well. And this was from 1981, I believe, 82. So again, science fiction at the time. At that time, everybody wanted to own Kit. You know, you wanted that self-driving car that could talk to you and that you could summon, like, hey, Kit, come to the back of the hospital. But by now, this is actually reality. The future is now. We have self-driving cars. I own one myself that's self-driving. In Europe, there's a little bit of a shame around this topic these days because the owner is a little bit interfering with the politics over here. But I'm still proud of my car itself, and I really like it. And I actually drive about 95% of the distances that I drive are actually on autopilot. So yes, I would trust AI with my life if you look at it that way. So we have these cars now, and as you can see here, you know, in the States, it's actually allowed to do a little bit more than in Europe. In Europe, we're not allowed to stop for traffic lights automatically. It's not allowed to turn itself automatically. So in the States, you're a little bit ahead of what's all allowed with self-driving cars. But these things are changing rapidly. I mean, 10 years ago, you couldn't imagine that this would be a reality now and actually being used a lot now. So jumping a little bit far ahead, where does this all come from? Well, basically, it boils down to three things. Data everywhere. We have our cell phones. There's about, last time I asked the group, there was about 14 sensors inside your cell phone already. A lot of people forget about the most important one, which would be the microphone. And but people really think it's like, yeah, there's a camera on it, and there's accelerometer, and there's a GPS sensor, and then there's the Wi-Fi sensor. We got Bluetooth connection, a lot of different things inside it that you have the touch screen, etc. the buttons actually on the side. And all of this data is now coming from all sides. A lot of people have 1 or 2 even phones. Then they have their laptop, they have their TV, they have their smart fridge, smart curtains, smart Alexa, whatever you name it. It's everywhere. Number 2 would be the hardware. So where it used to be that you had a CPU inside your laptop only, and it was like a quad-core processor, which can handle 4 calculations at the same time. Now we have GPUs, graphical processing units, or video cards, whatever you want to call them. All of a sudden, we can run 2,000 to 3,000 calculations at once. Everybody probably heard this week that the NVIDIA stock dropped dramatically because of the introduction of DeepSeek. Personally, I'm not so sure yet about DeepSeek because I see a lot of evidence flying by that it is highly censored, but it is also open source. So we can also make a new version now, which uses the exact same information. This is the exact same structure, but then without the censoring at the end. So we see, especially if you ask sensitive Chinese topics like, but what about Taiwan? Is Taiwan part of China? Or what about that picture of the man in front of the tank? What very famous picture? What is it about? Right away it says, like you can see it starting to think, and then right away it says, I'm not allowed to talk about this topic. So this kind of censorship is, it can be anywhere in AI, but with DeepSeek, it's really obvious. So that's the second one. So we got the hardware, and then we got the third one, and that is the algorithms. The algorithms have been around for a while, but these days they're optimized further and further and further because we are actually able to use them on the hardware right now. We have the data to run all these models on. So that's improving a lot. So we had pretty decent algorithms that were thought of already that we couldn't use yet, but now there's a lot of developments on the algorithms. And all of that together, that is why we have this AI hype now. Another thing when it comes to hardware is cloud infrastructure. Back in the days, if you wanted 200 video cards, you could start driving 100 miles just to find enough stores that would have 200 video cards for you. By now, you can just have it at your disposal with one click of the mouse in the cloud services of Azure or AWS. So that also makes a huge difference how easy it is to have access to a lot of hardware for just a short period of time. So how do we use this then? Well, I already showed you the example of Tesla, but how does this stuff work then on the inside? Well, one of the ways they use to train this stuff is called reinforcement learning. And basically what it does is it creates new systems based on the systems that were successful in the past. So what you see here is a lot of iterations of a car learning to drive on a certain track. And it's just a fully computer simulation, and it's just learning, like, basically stay between the gray lines. And after about 16 iterations, actually the first car manages to make it out of the system, which means that it has learned not to crash anymore. I think iteration 14 gets pretty far, and then 16 really gets all the way there. And how that works on the inside is just a neural network, as you see in the right top of the screen, which is learning to improve how to respond to certain situations. So for example, if you're getting too close to the wall, then steer away from it. And instead of programming all of this out and trying to take care of all of the possible scenarios up front, what these systems do is that it just learns by itself. Let's not wait for iteration 16 because we have so much more fun with hands-on stuff coming up. Anybody here who played Snake? You guys can't respond, but I definitely did. When I was a kid, I spent way too much time on my Nokia 3210, which was a Finnish phone that was super popular, at least in Europe. And it had the game Snake on it. And I have spent countless hours trying to eat those apples. But now I can actually program a neural network to do this for me using reinforcement learning. Actually, my current hobby project is to create a chess bot which is better than me at chess. which is not that difficult because I'm not that great at it. But my next goal is to beat also one of my colleagues who is really great at it. So, and then you can also combine all of these things. So when we're talking about Gen AI, this image I created using Midjourney, which I'll be showing live in let's say 10 minutes from here, maybe a little bit more. And after I created this with Midjourney, then I loaded it into Leonardo.ai, which is really good of making movies of still images. And you can do that with a lot of different models. So you can like cartoonify stuff, but you can also, in this case, I just use the standard model, which is really good at making water move, for example. So that's why I actually included some water in the bottom. And it's not so great at making movement of straight lines. So if we look here, for example, this is one of the bridges in the Netherlands, in my hometown, Rotterdam. And you see that if it has to create a visualization where it's moving around straight line objects, it gets kind of funky. And the closer you start looking at certain pieces, the more obvious it gets that it's all fake. So for example, look at the left-hand side, then you see it's really fake. Whereas when you focus more on the river, it's not so obvious. So the giveaways are often in the details. That something is done with fake videos, it's getting more and more difficult to see the difference. This is one of my personally favorite videos on YouTube. It's not the youngest video anymore, but I think it's still really impressive for the level of Gen AI. So I'm gonna be quiet and I'm gonna force you to listen to Johnny Cash sing songs he never wanted to sing. Can you hear it there? Or should I share with sound?
With sound, I think.
Did you hear the sound or not?
No, we didn't.
I thought it,
A little bit.
I thought it started, but yeah.
Yeah. Wait 1 second.
No, they're not hearing it either. Okay.
Yeah. I can only do this if I disconnect my screen. And there we go. Oh. There we go.
I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. Life in plastic, it's fantastic. You can brush my hair, undress me everywhere. Oh, come on, Barbie, let's go party, 'cause I'm in a Barbie world. If you wanna be my lover, you gotta get with my friends.
All right, I'll stop torturing you guys. But you get the idea. It's really amazing what you can do with voices of actors, of singers, whatever, but also of individuals, of politicians. So it's really something to watch out for as well. But as long as it's being used for entertainment purposes, I can really enjoy it myself. Same here. This is yours truly, shown through 2 different AI tools. So then on the left-hand side, you see Barbie.me, and on the right-hand side, you see Midjourney. Midjourney clearly isn't trained on Barbie dolls, but the other one clearly is. So actually, when I needed to get a haircut in Luxembourg, and in Luxembourg, they speak different languages than the ones I know. So this lady only spoke French. And I said to her, I showed her this picture on the left-hand side picture, and I showed her, comme ça, like that. And that's all my French. And she actually believed that this was a real image of me, of a younger version of me. My wife would have been happy, I think. And you're starting to see a lot more things where the computer is actually outperforming the humans. So for example, here you see a drone race where actually the lines of the drones are tighter. 1 second. There we go. The lines of the drones are slightly tighter than what even the world champion drone racing can actually do. And this is just one of the examples where robots are starting to outperform humans. Another one is the Atlas ones, which can actually do saltos and things like that, which I have never been able to do. I mean, the running across here isn't that impressive, but if you see them doing saltos later on, it gets quite impressive. And also, if you realize that they can make all kinds of copies of this and they can fine tune further and further, you can imagine that it will outperform humans by quite a bit. And it can also go into areas where we cannot even go, for example, because the heat's too high. So they can go into burning buildings where we would say, let's not do that. So yeah, there you see the saltos. I cannot do any of that. I can do that part though. Here's another use of robots. So you see them taking care of elderly where they are, otherwise they would be bored. In the Netherlands, there is a very big limitation on the labor force right now. So we're really short on people who are willing to do this kind of work especially, but basically all kinds of work. And at some point during this video, this lady says that the robot is so sweet, which I think is really impressive. If you just have a bunch of chips and a bunch of plastic together and somebody actually gives it such a human characteristic as it being sweet. All right, but enough of the demos that you can all find on YouTube. Let's see how this works on the inside. And I will do so in increasing awesomeness. So we'll start out easy. Let's make an image of anything. So let's say we want to make an image of the Super Bowl between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. And let's do a tackle. Let's do a quarterback sack. Which should be coming up in 1.5 weeks. And I'm a big American football fan, which is uncommon for Europeans. So you'll see this example coming by a couple more times from me. And you can actually see the pictures already. Maybe I should have told them that the quarterback should be wearing either number 9 if it's an Eagles quarterback, or number 15 if it's a Kansas City Chiefs one. But you get the idea already. This event, even though it might have taken place in the past already, a quarterback sack between these two teams, but it's just coming up with it as we go. And for example, in this image, it really also tries to express the awesomeness of the Super Bowl. But let's now do it using ChatGPT. So I already wrote down before we started, create an image of, and then the exact same prompt. And while both are using Dall-E in the background, they're both using the Dall-E model, what ChatGPT does is it will create a different prompt for you as you go. So if you click on I here, it will tell you the prompt that it really gave. So it will make it a more dramatic moment. And you see that it already, from the same prompt, you get a lot different image. There's a little bit more focus on the fact that it is actually the Super Bowl. I don't know if it's going to be Super Bowl 52, probably not, because these models are really good at interpolating from what they've seen in the past. So probably Super Bowl 52 has been already. I have absolutely no idea about that. But let's just ask ChatGPT, which Super Bowl will be held in February 2025. This kind of information it should be able to give. So actually, it's not going to be 52, but it's going to be 59. And actually, it already knows where it's going to be, because unlike in the past where it wasn't able to give this kind of up-to-date information, now it just accesses the web and gives you actually the source for it as well. So this has been quite the improvement over the past, well, let's say year of ChatGPT. Moving on to the next one. Trying to keep up the pace here, and I've created an image here. You guys are supposed to be able to put it in the chat, so I'm going to ask you guys. I blended the image of 2 Kansas City players here. And who can see which players I blended? Now you don't see it anymore, but I do want to see the chat in the background. Who has an ID? Oh. So they are all four. All four of them are blends of 2 players, of the same 2 players. And I'm looking for the names of the players. Any football fans out there?
So is that a boyfriend of Taylor Swift?
Yeah, that's one of them. Travis Kelce is one of them. Yeah, and Patrick Mahomes is the other one indeed. So these are the images I used for the sources. Blended these 2 players together, and this is what it gives them. So how do we do that? Do /blend, then we give an image. Let's do another one for this time. So we do Frankie and we do Mbappe, which are 2 famous soccer players in Europe. And let's run this. So it will send it. It all runs in Discord. That's how Midjourney works. And you just have to wait for the model to run. While that's running, I'll show you something else I created. So I asked for a Super Bowl trophy being paraded around Kansas City by Philadelphia Eagles fans, which is, of course, uncommon. And personally, I don't know what Kansas City looks like, so maybe someone can help in identifying actually Kansas City in this image. But it's definitely Philadelphia Eagles fans. They actually put an Eagles logo or something similar on the Super Bowl-like figure. But again, being actually 100% factual is very difficult for such a model. So if you look at this trophy, like this doesn't really look like the Super Bowl trophy, the Vince Lombardi trophy. But actually interpolating between stuff, that's actually something he's very good at. So if we look at the 2 players that I just uploaded, one was a blonde hair guy from the Netherlands, and the other one was the famous player Mbappe from France. And this is how their babies would look. This is the blend option. There are a couple more options here. So you have also image, or imagine, I mean. And then you can just prompt anything. Like, for example, we can do this quarterback sack again and see how it turns out in this model. But another thing we can do here is describe. And then let's do describe an image. And let's go for Mahomes. And it now, instead of giving us an image, it will actually give us a textual description of what we see on the image. So it's doing exactly the other way around. And it will give us 4 descriptions. Even though I didn't tell him it was Patrick Mahomes, he actually discovered that in all 4 of the descriptions. So it really saw that it was Patrick Mahomes, but it also describes what else it's doing. So red versus white jersey, smiling, happy, studio background, and red and gray stripes in the background. Hyper realistic. And again, the quarterback sacks. But you see, especially the left bottom one, we see a little problem. Does anybody see the problem with the left bottom picture?
There's 2 balls to start.
2 balls, indeed. Yeah. So you got 2 balls, and also it's kind of strange that the quarterback's actually making the tackle. Like number 15 is quarterback number, especially the quarterback number. Can happen, not so common. So definitely not going to be a quarterback sack if the quarterback's actually making the tackle. But 2 balls is definitely a giveaway of this cannot be right. And this is typically what you see with these kind of AI models. There will be mistakes. Another thing we can do is creating videos. So this is Sora. This is not available in the Netherlands, but I set up a VPN to the States so that I can now also use Sora. Anyone who wants to see anything like this, feel free to throw a prompt into the chat that you want to see. And in the meantime, I'll explain what I did in preparation for this. So I asked for a Tesla Cybertruck driving past the White House on Mars. The driver is waving vividly, and I think I said something about the car should be bouncing and the car should have spinning wheels. And these are the 2 videos he made then. So Sora always makes 2 videos. Not exactly a Cybertruck, as you see. It is a little bit between a Tesla and some other car brands, but it's not really a Cybertruck. Again, factuality is too difficult for this kind of models, but at least the car keeps the same shape throughout the entire video, which is already extremely impressive compared to what we saw, for example, with the bridge in Rotterdam before. And I don't see anything in the chat yet, but I will just make my own thing then. So let's say a fisherman sitting in his boat and circles around the boat, showing that he's on a mountain lake. Fisherman already caught another fish and is pulling in another fish in the video. Now we do 2 things. I can either do create video right away, or I can go to generate storyboard first. And if you go to generate storyboard first, then you have a little bit more influence on the video that actually comes out. So you'll see that it will create a video of about 5 seconds, and we can say what should happen when. So we can move this around. I think we actually add more frames, and where we can also say what should happen in these frames. So let's see, we go to 1. A lone fisherman sits calmly in his wooden boat, surrounded by tranquil waters, etc. Storyboard 2. We have the camera angle shift to reveal the magnificent reflection of the mountains on the lake, enhancing the serene atmosphere. And let's say in scene 3, a drone camera flies away, making the fisherman smaller and smaller. Right. Let's say create. Add it to the queue. So it will take a second. While this is running, I'm going to show you the next thing that I'm about to show you. And that will be a chatbot. Making your own chatbot. So I wrote my very own simple manual. If you get error code 16, press 8. If you get error code 24, press 7. Get error code 27, press 2, etc. These are not coincidental numbers. These are the birthdays of me and my family, which helps me to remember which numbers I expect when. And we're going to go to ChatGPT's playground. In the playground, you have different options, like a chat, where you give a system instruction beforehand. So this is something which you could put on your website, and the playground is just to make sure that what you're going to do is you can try it out there without all the context of your website with potential bugs, etc. So let's give our little bot a name, and I'm gonna call it My First Help Desk. I don't know if you guys have it too, but in the Netherlands for children, we have My First Sony, where they have all kinds of nice Sony toys for little children. That's why I always call it My First Help Desk. And here I can either give the system instructions all the way myself, or I can actually use ChatGPT to create the system instructions for me, which is a lot easier. So that's what we're going to do. You are a very helpful, friendly chatbot, and help desk chatbot. And you will look in the vector store. The vector store is kind of its database where we will upload the manual in a second. Look in the vector store for the answers to the customer's questions. If you cannot find the answer there, you must say, I'm sorry, cannot help you with that question. You're free to contact the help desk on 1-800-HELP. All right, that should be plenty. And now we're going to create the system instructions. And you will see that it provides a lot more detail than what we've just provided to the chatbot. It starts out rather similar, but it actually will give a number of steps. So first, receive the customer's question. 2, search the vector store for relevant information. 3, if relevant information is found, respond with the details. 4, if no relevant information is found, provide the alternative contact message. And it gives a couple of examples here as well. I'm going to press save. And here we're going to upload the manual file, which I created. So that's just a PDF, which I just showed you. And we're going to click attach. Now it didn't turn this on automatically for us itself, so we have to turn this on. And basically the rest we can just leave as it is. And now I will say, as a customer, help, I have error code 16, which should be responded with press number 8. So it's running the retrieval step, which means that it's actually going into the vector store. And indeed, it gives us, if you get error code 16, press 8. Now let's try. Now I get 24. Should be responded with press 7. Which it does correctly as well. And now I will say, now I get error code 32, which is obviously impossible because none of my relatives will be born on the 32nd of the month. And it responds with, I'm sorry, cannot help you with that. Feel free to contact the help desk. So it did exactly what we asked it to do. And you can imagine that if you're a company with lots and lots of manuals on tools, whatever, software, that you can just load all this information into it. If you run a training firm, You can just create your own chatbot asking about, all right, I want the training on AI. Which trainings do you have on AI? This is my situation, which is the most suitable for it. Creating such a chatbot has become so much easier with the introduction of ChatGPT, and not only easier, also a lot more customer friendly, because these chatbots, they used to be absolute rubbish in the past. Now they are really good. So the cliffhanger, let's see what Sora did for us. And we can see that it created a beautiful video for us. Here we actually, on the right-hand one, we see the drone flying away slightly. Of course, effects are a little bit difficult, so we see this, what do you call it, the thing he rose with. It appears all of a sudden from nowhere, and it doesn't really have a lot of surface to move water with. But the mountain part's beautiful. The water part's beautiful. Actually, it kind of sort of makes sense what happens with the water there. We see a beautiful reflection of the mountain, so the actual mountain that you see is also reflected well in the water. So it is quite impressive to see what it can do already now. And you can only imagine if they start loading in more and more video material, what's going to happen to the quality of this. So this is what I wanted to show you guys. As you can see, I went through it faster than I ever did because I prepared it better than I ever did. And I would love it if people would throw in some questions into the chat on anything you've seen or anything you still would like to see.
So I've been rushing, so you got more speaker time, and now you finish early, Victor?
Yeah, exactly. So the rest of the time is yours, Moritz.
No, so I think, Victor, maybe you could. So we have a few products. Well, the rest is gathering questions. There's a few products. So the Gen AI courses, there's the data course, the AI fundamentals, AI basics, AI. Could you maybe line those out? What people can expect in those courses and why they've been created and why they're popular?
Yeah, so my personal favorite one is AI fundamentals because it's the longest one. And it gives the most time to explain well what you do, why you do it, what the limitations are, why you should watch out for it. So it's a 3-day course which is really extensive in all kinds of ways of looking at AI. So a little bit from a manager side, a little bit from perspective of I want to get acquainted with it myself, a little bit of I have no idea. So what can I expect from these things? And the nice things about this course material is that it is really extensive. And as a trainer, you can just select based on the group that you have in front of you. So if you realize like I have a bunch of managers today, you can just focus more on the manager side of things. Whereas on other days where it's more about the basics and you realize, well, these people have absolutely no idea what AI is at all, then you can focus more on the introductory part of it. So that's the thing I like most, especially about AI fundamentals, is the extensiveness of the material. So typically I never cover all of it. I always am able to select that what's interesting for that audience. So the difference between AI Essentials and AI Fundamentals is basically the length. So AI Essentials is the first part of AI Foundation. I haven't given the AI Basics ones myself, so that's maybe something more for you, Maurits, to explain.
Yes, you say it's more we do see that it's more more popular. We do see a lot of people going to the AI basics where it's just the first day out of 3 from the AI fundamentals. You see that a lot of business professionals go into that course. At the end of the course, they often say, "Oh, pity, I wish I had more content." But we see that it's a popular, just a 1-day course. What is AI? So there's also a course on Gen AI. Victor can tell more about it. So that's really more from a Gen AI perspective. It also covers the grounds, the different typologies of AI. You have like a box. This is AI, this machine learning, this Gen AI, and whatever else is out there. And Victor knows better. And then from a generative AI perspective, that one is doing quite well. It's also a 1-day course.
Yeah.
And a easy follow-up module, logical follow-up is large language models, and I believe that Victor already created the content for it. They also have given the training once during an event in the UK in London. So that's about GenAI and the follow-up on GenAI. We were doubting if it should go more towards prompt engineering, but the idea was to go more towards large language models. And then there's this other one, AI and data strategy. And I was actually expecting you to name that your favorite.
Yeah, because I created that one myself. Yeah,
exactly.
I guess that's the humbleness of a Dutchman, that you skip that one first. So that's actually the latest one, where we focus way more on the cultural side of things. So how do you foster and how do you create a culture inside your organization that is ready to adopt the changes that come from a data-driven approach and from an AI approach? So it's not so much about how do the models work, but a lot more about how can we get people enthusiastic about this topic? How can we encourage people to start using this more and more in their work? And how can we order the things we do with AI in a way that they make sense and that we actually get the most results out of it? Typically, no company has a horizon of 25 years. So we really focus on okay, so what happens in the first year? What happens in the third year? What happens in the fifth year? And how do we get moving forward? And basically, for a lot of organizations, this means how do we get moving? So yeah, that's what data and AI strategy is all about. So less about AI as content and more about the organizational way of looking at it.
Question real quick.
Yeah,
do you or do Van Haren offer a career roadmap or a recommended learning path, we'll say, for various courses at Van Haren, including the different AI courses and content?
We do. Having said that, this one is not in there, and I think that this one should. Well, it depends a bit how you look. Do you look from an individual perspective or from an organizational perspective? Indeed, we have been into. So we have a roadmap already for individuals and organizations that want to go into that environment. Victor has been longer in this world than I have, but I already have been in there for 5 years, and in the AI environment, 5 years feels like 50. And so for me personally, not that I'm an expert, but I've heard a lot about what it is, how it works, where it's going. But we now see that the AI transformations that organizations are going through, people don't know where to start. The Gen AI content is very practical for people to work on, very hands-on. But if you put Gen AI into a strategic board session and say, okay, this is what we're going to do, I'm not sure if that's the best approach. From a management perspective, you want to decide, okay, where do we start? Do we start with the ChatGPT, or do we start with our governance? So in that sense, that training is very valuable. Both trainings are very valuable, but let's say GenAI is more hands-on. People want to work with it in an organization, marketing department, or pretty much any department. And the AI and strategy, we've seen that being really successful, mainly for management teams that need to figure out, okay, how do we handle with this? The other courses are more, what is AI and how does it work? And what do you need to know? But this is more for management, understanding what direction is it going. And in that sense, quite valuable. And I think a fun course. And well, again, I'm not an expert, but I've seen the slides. It's built up well. Easy for me to say, but it has the right components in there that you need to have in there. Like data governance, for example, data strategy. You need to start with what's your strategy before you start doing anything in that sense. Sorry for taking the mic there, Victor.
No, go ahead. Yeah, I took it for 30 minutes. So.
Yeah,
so
Barry,
if we look at the Gen AI training and especially the LLM training, so the LLM training is basically what I just showed you with that playground environment with how to create a chatbot, but then a lot slower. So right now I went through that part in about 5 minutes, And there we actually take you through it in a full day, that you actually get to play with not only the one I showed you, the assistant, but also the chat versions of the two higher. And we take you through it much slower, get you hands-on experience yourself, so that you get to know what is possible with it, what isn't. Throw in a lot larger documents than the very small example I gave now, so that you can see actually what can it bring to your organization if you have such a chatbot. Very often people are a little bit reluctant to throw documents in because they're scared to throw these documents in because of privacy or whatever. But I always say, like, just throw in something which is not so secret. So for example, your manuals, they're not so secret, right? So you can throw in all the manuals from all your products. Or if you are an insurance company, you can throw in all your conditions and compare them to your competitors and see, like, show, like, hey, our conditions are better than the competitors. We're more expensive, but why? Well, here you see it. So there are a lot of good reasons and a lot of document types that you can throw into a chatbot without worrying about losing your competitive edge. So this is in the LLM one. It's a lot more focused on how you do this. And yeah, if you look at the generative AI trainings, you can expect more of this kind of stuff. The ChatGPT / GenAI training, well, it's a lot about how to use ChatGPT, a little bit more for people who have barely been using it. They're the ones who benefit the most from this training. And we see inside organizations that there's a big difference. Like, some people are using it daily and use it more than Google by now. Other people, they've heard that their children are using it for their homework, but that's all they know about it.
Yeah. And in that sense, it can be a very big return for organizations to provide this training, because when the employees start using GenAI, well, you've seen the examples, they can really increase their efficiency many times over, increase the quality, but they do need to know what are the risks, what is the error margin, what do you need to look at, how do you prompt, keep prompting. And by simply asking the question 4 times, you really drastically improve the quality of the prompt and what comes out of it, which Victor showed in the course. So it's in comparison, small investment for a big return for organizations. So it should be, well, in theory, I reckon that it's I don't want to say it's an easy sell, but I would think it's an easy sell. We see that it's going quite well with our current partners in Europe. So I hope that over there you can also benefit from it. The US is leading in AI. So yeah.
Yeah, if I look at Q3, Q4, what our bookings were, it was 50% was ChatGPT. Yeah, and it was all the Van Haren course.
And so we have this course, the training material that we have out there created with Victor. It's quite visual. That is, we call it Generative AI. It's a 1-day course. It also includes a certification exam at the end of it. We have partners offering that as ChatGPT for business, as Copilot for business, as Generative AI, as prompting essentials. In a sense, it's the approach, how you need to do it. And for each single tool, this is the same. So if you really want to make it about ChatGPT, the examples you can give are in ChatGPT. If you want to do it about Copilot, the examples you give are in Copilot. And maybe your trainer can show some more details in Copilot, but how to prompt, the error margin, which things go wrong. It's all the same, and independent of which large language model you use. So we have different parties branding the course in a different way. However, the exam they usually do is the same. So you can even test which course runs better for you, which product marketing suits you the best. And benefit from it. And let Barry know if you want to take the next step.
Okay. I don't know. Did anybody have any questions? Well, was there anything else you guys wanted to cover? Otherwise, I mean, we'll leave it open for questions for a moment. And If not, what I'll also do is I'll post a link on where the recording for this webinar will be posted once it's ready in the chat. And then again, if there are any questions, people can reach out to me. And then I don't know if Martis or Victor, either of you want to share contact info, or otherwise people can just reach out to me. And if they have questions after the fact, then I can reach out to you on their behalf too. That's also an option.
That's good.
Sure. I'll just pop my mail in the chat, just in case. Yeah.
Okay. Otherwise, and sorry, Martis, did you have any other decks information you wanted to share, or slides, that is, with info about the Van Haren content?
Yeah, we can share our slide deck to you, and also about the roadmap which you mentioned, the course roadmap, and then people can have a look at that.
Okay.
That's approach. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Then thank you for your time, Barry.
Excellent. Okay.
Thanks for having us.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Victor. Thanks, Martis. So if anybody has any questions, our contact info is in the chat. And then otherwise, we'll keep an eye out for info about the Van Haren content that you have to share, and also roadmaps, that sort of thing. If you can share it here, that's great. Also, if you share it with me, it would also be good to have available to share with any clients as inquiries come up. So
yeah, sure thing.